Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allow me at the start to extend a warm word of appreciation to the Observer Research Foundation, to the foreign policy community of Indonesia and the Embassy of India for organizing this event, which translates an important dimension of the transformation the world is going through. I will speak about Africa. The importance of Africa in the Indo-Pacific is crucial in consideration to the evolving dynamics of the East-West competition, or let's say sometimes confrontation, in this new world order. But in order to look into that, we must first consider the broader canvas upon which this discussion is painted, which is the evolving global scenario that characterizes our time. First element is the shift in the global power dynamics. In the recent years, we have witnessed a dramatic transformation in the distribution of the global power. Traditionally dominated by the Western powers, the global stage is now increasingly influenced by emerging economies in Asia, including significant players like such China, India, and Asian countries. This shift is redefining not only regional power balances, but also the strategies of nations across all the continents, including Africa. The second element is the rise of the Indo-Pacific. The concept of the Indo-Pacific has gained prominence as a critical geopolitical and economic arena. This region, extending from the shores of East Africa to the Western Pacific Ocean, has become a focal point for global trade, maritime security, and diplomatic engagement. It encompasses vital sea routes that facilitated international trade. The security and openness of these maritime pathways are pivotal to global economic stability and are thus a primary concern for multiple stakeholders, including African nations, whose economic prospects are increasingly tied to the Asian markets. The second element is the East-West tension. Among this geopolitical and economic importance, the Indo-Pacific is also a stage for renewed East-West confrontation. This tension is not just military, but deeply economic, technological, and ideological. The strategic competition between the United States and China, particularly, and their allies, has implications that resonate far beyond their immediate spheres of influence. This rivalry drives a complex array of alignments and realignments. They are affecting nations worldwide and pushing regions like Africa to navigate this tension carefully, representing as well a significant segment in the global South structure. African nations can negotiate trade agreements, developments, aid and investment projects with the different parties, balancing these relationships to maximize economic benefits while maintaining sovereignty. What is the impact on Africa? For Africa, these global shifts open up new opportunities and present big challenges. The continent is increasingly recognized as an active participant whose decisions can sway the balance in this global arena. Africa abundant natural resources, its strategic maritime positions, and its potential as a burgeoning market and manufacturing base gives it a unique leverage. African nations are now courted not only by traditional Western allies, but also by Eastern powers eager to establish a foothold and garner influence. The fifth element is the implication of global governance in the global governance. Furthermore, these dynamics are reshaping global governance. The rules-based international order that has governed world politics and economics since the mid-20th century is under strain. Even the UN Secretary General has called for its reform. How Africa and the Indo-Pacific nations navigate this changing landscape will significantly influence the evolution of the international norms and practice. Will these changes lead to more multipolar world order, or will they result in heightened tensions and fragmentations? The answer lies in our collective hands. Continents' actions will not only define its future, but also has the potential to influence the broader international system. But in this world, saying all of this, what are the African assets? The first asset of Africa is the geographical significance. Africa's geographical position is pivotal, connecting not just Atlantic and Indian Ocean countries, but also linking the northern and southern hemispheres. This positioning bestows the continent with several strategic advantages. One of them is the maritime gateways. You know, Africa controls several critical maritime checkpoints, such as the Suez Canal and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb or the Strait of Sicily, which are vital for global maritime trade. These points are essential for maritime trade, are essential for energy shipment, and the major part of trade exchanges from the Middle East to Europe and North America, making their security a priority for many nations. The second advantage is the proximity to markets, to global markets. The continent's eastern and southern shores are gateways to the Indo-Pacific markets, offering a direct access to Asian economies. It's not only facilitates trade routes, but also positions Africa as a strategic partner for Indo-Pacific, seeking to secure and diversify their supply chains. The third advantage is naval strategic points. Countries like Djibouti have become focal points for international military bases due to their strategic location near busy shipping lanes and unstable regions. The presence of these bases underscores the geopolitical importance of the African geography. A second asset, which is a big asset in Africa and interesting to focus on, is the economical potential. Africa is often cited as a land of untapped wealth, with vast natural and human resources that have not yet been fully exploited. The economic potential of Africa can be seen through several lenses. The first lens are the natural resources. Africa, which is home to around 30% of the world's mineral reserves, including precious metal, diamonds, rare earth elements, and significant oil and gas reserves. Africa's natural resource wealth is a critical asset that can drive economic growth and foster partnerships with resources-seeking countries in the Indo-Pacific. Both Eastern and Western powers are keen to secure their resources to fuel their economies. However, this has led to a competitive environment where African nations must navigate complex diplomatic waters to ensure that agreements are fair and beneficial, avoiding resource exploitation and ensuring sustainable development. The second lens is the growing consumer market. With some of the world's fastest growing economies, Africa is becoming an increasingly important market for consumer goods. The expansion of the middle class and urbanization are creating demand for technology, services, and infrastructure, and offering abundant opportunities for investors from the Indo-Pacific region. The third lens is agriculture development, which is huge in Africa. Africa has 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. With proper investment and technological advancements, African agriculture can not only feed its population, but also become a major food supplier globally. This development can foster greater economic stability and reduce dependency on food imports. So after the two assets, the geographical one, the economic one, the third one is the demography, which is a huge opportunity, not easy to manage, but huge opportunity for Africa and for Indo-Pacific. With a youthful population, Africa is the youngest continent globally, with a median age of around 19 years. This burgeoning youth population can be a phenomenal growth engine if properly educated and employed. It represents a dynamic workforce for the burgeoning industrial sectors and a promising base for new technologies and services. The fourth asset, which is not neglectable, is the diplomatic agency. African nations are now increasingly asserting their diplomatic agency in managing East-West dynamics and relationships. They are leveraging their collective voice through the African Union and regional bodies to advocate for Africa's interests on the global stage. They are ensuring that they are neither bystander or pawns. In this global power place, the diplomatic agency is critical in negotiation that affects the continent's security, economic policies, and environmental commitments. Several Asian nations have already understood the importance of Africa for their economies and for their overall security. One of the best examples that I can use today is the partnership between India and several African nations. India's Focus Africa program. It has been instrumental in strengthening ties, evident in initiatives like the Pan-African e-Network project, which provides tele-education and telemedicine services, connecting African institutions with Indian universities and hospitals. This initiative not only leverages India's IT prowess to bridge knowledge gap, but also established a model of South-South cooperation that enhances capacity in healthcare and education across the continent. Another example is the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which is called TICAD. It has facilitated extensive Japanese investment in African infrastructure. Australia's engagement as well with Africa, focusing on mining, agriculture, and education. Additionally, the Australia Awards, a scholarship program, has enabled numerous African professionals to pursue higher education and vocational training in Australia. China, as you know, is also very active on the African continent through its Belt and Road Initiative. The Confucius Cultural Centers serve also as a platform to introduce Chinese culture and civilization to people on the continent. But these developments are paralleled by several challenges and opportunities. The first challenge in Africa is the political instability. Many African countries face challenges related to the governance and political unrest, like we witnessed it recently in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Gabon. This instability can undermine economic development and deter foreign investment. However, it is also presents an opportunity for Indo-Pacific nations to engage in a capacity-building initiatives that promote political stability and good governance. The second challenge is the economic volatility. Africa's economic landscape is marked by volatility, which fluctuating commodity prices affecting the fiscal stability of the resource-dependent economies. Indo-Pacific partners can mitigate this through diversified investments and technology transfer that promote other sectors such as manufacturing and digital services. The third challenge, which is global, it's the climate change. Africa is vulnerable to climate change, with impacts threatening agriculture, water resources, and coastal communities. This challenge is a chance for Indo-Pacific nations to collaborate on environmental resilience and green technology projects such as renewable energy installations and sustainable agriculture practice that not only address climate change but also create economic opportunities. So with all these assets on both sides, we can confidently look forward to a solid and mutual beneficial cooperation in a diversified portfolio of both regions. Among the actions which we believe will serve to foster these relations, we can cite the following. The first action is to strengthen the diplomatic ties. I strongly believe that it is in the best interest of Indo-Pacific nations to deepen diplomatic engagements with African countries through regular high-level exchanges and support for African position in the international forums. This can enhance mutual understanding and foster a partnership based on respect and shared goals. The second action is to enhance the economic cooperation. There is a need for increased investment in key sectors such as technology, infrastructure, and education, which are essential for Africa's development. These investments should be made in a manner that promotes sustainable development, reinforces the inclusion of women in the economic dynamics, particularly by facilitating their access to funding and builds local capacity without imposing overwhelming debt burden. The third action is to support multilateralism, encourage and support African nations in playing an active role in multilateral settings, such as the United Nations and the World Trade Organization, to ensure that the Africa's voice is heard through the Global South in shaping the global agenda. The first action is to promote cultural and people-to-people exchanges, increase scholarships, cultural exchanges, and tourism initiatives that build bridges between the people of the Indo-Pacific and Africa, understanding and appreciating each other's cultures and history can solidify long-term relationships. In conclusion, it is my belief that the partnerships between Africa and Indo-Pacific nations hold the key to a balanced and prosperous global order. By acknowledging and addressing the challenges and by acting collectively, we can unlock the tremendous potential that this collaboration holds. Let's work together. Let's work together to build a future that benefits all our nations and people. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.